Today on the show, strategy plus action equals creating the solution you've always needed. Great coaches and consultants like you have the ability to change people's lives and transform entire organizations. And your impact can often go far beyond the clients you work with. One of the reasons I love working with coaches and consultants is because of that ripple effect. This show is here to highlight your expertise and empower you with resources and new ideas to grow your business. Welcome to Strategy in Action. Drew Deraney is on the show today, and I'm ecstatic to bring him and his story and his mission to you. He's got a powerful story of not only what he went through and kind of got himself through and to the other side and the journey he's still on with all of that, but he really took all of those events that hit him in life, and he's now decided, I need to create the solution that I couldn't find at the time, the support system. And so Drew has done just that. He's put together an amazing men's group to really elevate this conversation with men about getting through hard times, struggling, realizing that not only should we be expressing that and talking about it and looking for help, asking for help, but that there's resources out there to do so. And Drew is really building a community around that aspect by bringing people in. I'm honored to be a part of that group, and just the other men in there along with Drew. Just I think we're doing some great things, having some great conversations, and I'm excited to see where Drew takes this whole endeavor. And beyond this idea and this topic that we get into around, supporting men and helping them, express what they're going through and finding those resources, there's a bigger topic here that I found really interesting. And that idea of, creating the solution to the problem you're either going through or had 3 or 4 years ago. It's so powerful and so strong. And we dig into that topic here today. All right, let's jump in. Drew Deraney, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jason Croft. It's great the great Jason Croft. I appreciate being here.
I appreciate that. I made you sign a contract that forced you to say that.
Yes, it's okay.
And I'm not ashamed of it either. So
I practiced and I sounded sincere, so we're okay.
That's right. I'll edit this part out. It'll be great. Just on loop, the great Jason Croft. Just
absolutely.
Every time you say my name throughout the show, I'm going to edit that
I
part.
Hear it all. I hear it all the time, and it makes me really be productive. So great, Jason Croft.
Nice. I love what you've built, and you've invited me. I have the great honor to be a part of the men's group that you've started, and that really got me thinking on the great topic to have today, right, is around building the solution that you never had. So definitely give people some, geography a little bit on, your background and specifically around this topic, of going through what you went through over the last couple of years that led you to going, man, I didn't have this support. I didn't have this solution that I needed. I'm just going to go build it and make it happen. And we can kind of dive into there on the steps of that and that endeavor, right? So give people a little bit of background on what led you to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I get my whole life. I've always wanted to help. And help is a very broad term, but I've always been intrigued by the sciences. I was in healthcare for 24 years in the hospital sector. And anytime an issue came up that could be better for the patient and the family, I created something. I don't believe in sitting by and waiting for things to happen. And so, when I left the healthcare field and I bought a franchise because I wanted to have my own company, and just with already the structure in place, I figured it would be easier. But you know what? I shied away from the healthcare. So it was a non-healthcare franchise, and I didn't feel my passion. And so I ended up, I woke up one morning and I said, you know what? My passion really is, I started to think about all the stuff that happened to me in a 9-month period back in 2018. And I did what society told me to do as a man. Suck it up, man up, just go through it, plow through it, do it. Don't ask for help. And that's it. And I did that. And I've been doing a lot of research too, Jason. I mean, 95% of our brain activity is on autopilot. We just go through the motions and we don't realize what we're doing. So I went through this without asking for help, no support. And there was a wealth of support around me, as far as whether it was my religious faith or close friends. I didn't tap into that at all. And if I had, and I looked around, there was nothing for men. There's a lot for women, and God bless it. I love that there's stuff for women. There was nothing for men, especially nothing with men supporting men. It falls into the category of you don't know what you don't know. And it was when I finally got through the toughest part in navigating everything on autopilot that I realized, I would have come out a lot stronger, a lot more empowered, and a lot healthier in many different ways if I had asked for help or looked for support and there was something there, meaning like-minded men who have gone through stuff and gotten through it, and they could have taught me what they did to get through it. So rather than trial and error, I could have applied stuff that worked and maybe shortened my grief cycle, because it's taken a long time to get me to be a stronger person now than before it all happened. So, I'm glad I started this group. I don't know where it's going to go, but I believe in doing things organically and having strong people like you as a support system to help me build this.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and that's definitely what I want to dig into next is what this is, that we're kind of teasing out to folks. But to your point in there, I think it's really fascinating because, what you struggled with, there's so many layers to it. You said you don't know what you don't know, right? And overall in this society, it is weird. Fortunately, it's getting way better. It's weird for men to ask for help, right? It's like, especially each other. And the more emotional and the more that side of things you're struggling with, it doesn't even occur to you, right? Like for so many men. And a lot of this issue, I'm learning a little bit more because I've been very fortunate, and to ask for help, to have that support system around me throughout my life, having, I think for numerous reasons, one, being raised by a single mom, right? And having that maternal influence, right? And that support system that way, talk through things, just amazing friends through high school and college and all of that. And then just being interested in this whole world so much of being human and what makes us tick, and having amazing friends now who are coaches, relationship coach, so it's not weird to ask and talk about these things. And it's been a great lens though to see through what you're putting together and why that this is still a big missing piece out there, right? That for men to have this, basically to just really let in the fact like, it's okay to be human and to feel the things you're feeling. And there's ways through these, there's productive, healthy ways through these. And I know that's the basis of, getting these men together, to start this group, inviting more people in now, give people a little idea of name of the group, what it is, and all of that.
Absolutely. It's a Men Supporting Men Collaboration Tribe. And I was very intentional with naming it because the man I want to be a member of this group is a great man who wants to make a bigger impact faster, quickly in the world. And what this all means is the term great means men have so much greatness within them. And based on how strong their self-worth is, that's going to determine whether that greatness comes out. And many of these men do not tell their story. Okay? Telling your story to me is selfless. When other men hear the story, they know they're not on an island by themselves. So I'm looking for great men who want to make a bigger impact. And so we bring these men 4 times a month together um, to listen to. I have experts come speak, so I listen to what the needs are of these men, and it could be anywhere from financial needs, business needs, or any part of our human needs, emotion, cognitive, spiritual, or physical needs. And I have a nice network of experts across the world who are willing to come speak to the group. And we have an eclectic group of speakers, and then I open it up to the members to ask questions. And again, it's all in the realm of you don't know what you don't know. So you may come to this group thinking you may not need support. You're going to learn something. Something's going to resonate with you that you can take home with you and apply right away. Or you may realize something that one of the other guys needs, and you have that strength and you share it. So it's all about connection and collaboration. And that's what this is all about. It's really having your really mission-driven men who want to have an impact, a greater impact through connection and collaboration. That's what this group is all about.
Yeah, and there's so much power in two big components of this. One is that very purposeful component that you talk about in specific topics, having people come in and speak, and really, again, that full picture of what you need: personal, relationship, business, having all those conversations. And the second half of that is maybe the intangible, right? What I just described as having for a long time is just like, it's just normal to have those conversations. It's helping provide that, when you can be around other men just having this conversation. Oh man, I struggled with this the other day, and here's how I got through it. Here's what I did. And that may be something that you show up to learn this business tactic, and you've never been around a group of guys just, talking about their struggles. And to help normalize that is actually really powerful. So
Right.
I love that you're putting that together.
Yeah, well, I realized too that in order to succeed, you need to surround yourself with good human beings. And I learned my lesson. So when I was forming this group, I was intentional, purposeful to find. I looked. 8 is my magic number. I love the number 8. I was looking for 8 great men across the world. They just happen to all be in the U.S. To really, I asked them for help, and I said, "Can you help me launch this thing?" And these are men who've gone through struggles in life, and gotten through it, and now they're all helping others in professionally, and they have a few years ahead of me with the business stuff. So they all agreed, and you being one of them. And that's another benefit to the group is they're not only getting to know me and my network. We're connecting with 8 other strong, great men who want to lend support. So you're talking about multiplication of your impact right there. And that's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things of the group, of the people I work with, and, coaches, consultants, and all of that, is that ripple effect. That's just the coolest thing in the world. If you can lend that little bit of support to one other person whose job it is, whose mission in life it is to go help other people, like, that's really powerful, and it's enough to just help that person you're across from. But when you can think about it in those terms too, maybe it makes you take that little bit of extra effort, right? Of just like, they probably don't need this advice or that advice. Well, what if they did? And what if it really did make a difference? And then it magnified like that. I think that's really strong. So I love this idea, and I think it can apply so much broader than simply starting a men's group or starting any other kind of group. I think the what's really strong here, and I want to dig into, is the fact that you had this need, you went through, all of this, and you've come out the other side and said, this needs to exist because I needed this. You're building this solution for the person you once were, and you see the need that is still there. What is that first thought process of going, man, it doesn't exist. I have to be the one that does that. I think that's really interesting to hear. And then going step one, okay, how the heck am I
Right.
am I
Right.
going to do that?
Mhm. Well, I mean, when I was going through, everything starts with an external circumstance, right? Something happens, and it all depends on how we're going to react to it. And for me, I firmly believe if you have a strong self-worth, and I define self-worth as you respect yourself, you trust yourself, you love yourself, and you have confidence in yourself. Those four things to me is the formula for self-worth. Now, external circumstance happens, and if you have a low self-worth, which I really did at that time, when it was divorce, job loss, my son's mental health challenges, and my dad passing away, I saw all four of those independent external circumstances in and of themselves a crisis because of my lower self worth. I believe if I had a stronger self worth, I would have seen those as just other stuff I had to get through, right? Because I think when you have an internal self worth that's really strong, you're going to ask for help because you don't care what other people think, and you're saying, "Hey, I need help. I don't have an ego. I'm just going to ask for help." I didn't have all that, so I saw four independent external circumstances be four separate crises. So I went into crisis management mode, which really made me want to cave in and kind of give up. What helped me get out of that is searching for that clarity. Why am I still here? And I knew if I looked internally for that clarity at that point in time, my brain, my gut, and my heart would have said, "Don't move on. Let's end it." I had to look outside into my three children's eyes and my mother, who just lost her love of her life after 51 years. I got the power and the clarity through them to pull me through it. Now I know I did it for them, not for me. Now I'm doing it for me and for them and for others. And after that clarity, I started to be able to see things that I usually considered barriers. I started to see them as opportunities. All right. So those barriers, just because of that clarity, turn barriers into opportunities. And then you have to seize those opportunities. I started to take action on some of these opportunities. And as I did, I started to gain some of that self-worth, those four things I told you about. And obviously I started to progression. And then through more and more of that progression, I started to evolve. That becomes what I call the COPE paradigm for coming through stronger. COPE
Yeah.
is for clarity, opportunity, progression, and evolution. And that's what started to do it. And I've always had it in me to create something rather than wait for something to happen. Because you don't really accomplish anything that's worth accomplishing with inaction.
Oh, sure. And then to your point too, you're limited by that self-worth component, right? You may have all the desire in the world to help make things better, do what you can, but if you don't believe you have that ability, that's really interesting too, to even going back to having each of those four things happen as a I guess as someone with low self-worth experiencing those. That's interesting that I hadn't thought of before too, that I guess in that too, at some level you're like, I caused this, I made this. Even with your father's past, like even that we can internalize so much because I must have done something wrong, right? For this to come on. And there's so much power in being confident in yourself and turning inward and getting that part of you solved. And I'll preach that all day long. But to your point, whatever gets you out of that mode and into that next step, that is the most important thing. And that's going to be different for everybody. And to have that external pull that you had from your kids, from your mother and stuff, yes, grab onto anything
Right.
you can, right? In that healthy way
Absolutely.
and pull through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
So I
yeah.
love that framework too. That the COPE framework that you just talked about. And so you've decided, like, and this is bigger than this group. I mean, this is something that you want to, like, at a bigger level. It's like, oh, I'm going to start this group and kind of do that on the side. Like, this is your life now, and figuring that out, right? What is that looking like right now?
Well, I want to get on the grander stage. I'm going to look into public speaking. I do have a podcast. So I want to get the word out. Any vehicle I can do to get the word out, and I want to make this global. It's a movement. It's going to be a movement. It is a movement. I believe this world is lacking authenticity, and if we are 24/7, 100% our authentic selves, everybody's going to start uniting rather than dividing. And so, it all starts in a grassroots effort, because all the big companies, the government, any of these, no, they're not going to do it. It's people like you and me who have lived through this stuff, who wake up and realize, you know what? I'm replacing regret with forgiveness. I'm replacing my victim mentality or a scarcity mindset. I'm going to replace that with gratitude. And damn it, I'm going to replace my fear with desire and faith. And I think that's what the clarity helped me, because if you can eliminate regret, add gratitude to your life, and face fear and do things scared, then we're going to help a lot more people, help ourselves and help a lot more people.
Oh yeah. I mean, those are life-changing elements, and each one is going to have its nuance and different steps that each person needs. But that's a powerful frame to go at life, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm trying to build new habits. I'm trying to, for myself, break down some old bad habits that I've been living other people's beliefs. When you really think about it, you and I have talked about this, that most of our belief systems formed for us by the age of 18. And once you understand your self-worth and who you really are, it starts to misalign and you're butting heads against this belief you thought you're supposed to have. It's worth fighting it, because I've been a people pleaser my whole life. And there's a detriment to being a people pleaser if you lose your self-identity,
Oh yeah. And that's the thing too. That's, you butt heads against that belief if you, number one, if you're operating out of your deepest values and what you really hold true, but you've got this, system running in you that was put in there by somebody else. But then you also, then you need to go through that process on both sides, right? To go, what do I really believe? What are my values? What do I care about? And in that process, start to pull out these things of just when you react some certain way, to go like, hang on a second. I actually don't care about that. Why am I? That's funny, and those little pieces, and it's all powerful stuff. It can seem like little things as they're mentioned, but again, back to that ripple effect, right? Like then it can be huge throughout your life, to now not alienate people with the way you're reacting to something when you actually don't even care,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we have 95% of our brain activity working on autopilot, our subconscious, that leaves us 5% of brain activity that's conscious, that we're aware of. We need to increase the self-awareness. I'm a firm believer that if you can increase your self-awareness and live by your values, your authentic self, then you start to self-care. When you start to take care of yourself, you start to improve. When you start to improve, you can then help others. We can't help others if we're not at our best, and we can only be at our best and improve if we take care of ourselves. We're only going to take care of ourselves if we're aware that we need to take care of ourselves. And I believe there is no such thing as selfish care. You know how people say, "Oh, every type of care is selfless. Doesn't matter what kind of care it is."
That's a great point. It's so funny too, because, as you say these things, it's, that's the power in sort of like starting a movement and an education process and all of that too, because, we hear self-care and we immediately like, oh, so I need a spa day, right? Like immediately, like just like that's put in there. We're going to have to like, come up with like, construct your foundation and like work on your foundation. Like we'll get some things in there, some good marketing speak that
absolutely. Yeah. It's true. It's true. And men especially, we're taught to be fixers, that we need to fix things. And the minute we say we're going to take care of myself, I'm taking time away of fixing others or helping others, and with the wrong mindset, it does feel like you're being selfish when you're taking care of yourself and not taking care of others. But it's the opposite. It's a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to really, I'm gonna do this thing that's needed in the world. I think it's really strong too that, um, you from the beginning of this thing, you've taken your own medicine and practicing what you preach, right? Of I'm going to ask for help. You talked about gathering the guys to do this, and I want to point that out for the audience. No matter what you're trying to go build, if it's a new business, a product, or a movement like this, I think that's such a powerful first step, right? So many of us want to go put everything together in the basement and, for however long it takes in our imaginations and all of that, then we'll unleash it to the world. And instead, you started talking immediately, like, oh, I know this person, I know this person, and it started to formulate that a little bit. I think that's so powerful, and I would imagine that already it's snowballed even beyond the group, right? Because I mean, you've got a book coming, you're doing bigger things with all this, but it's exponential when you bring in the team, right?
Yeah, it is. I learned a lesson a long time ago. I was a manager at a hospital, and I had like 50 people reporting to me in an operating room at a large hospital in New Jersey. And I used to live by the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would want done unto themselves. And I learned a powerful lesson when I was a new manager and I decided to send people birthday cards, right? Oh, now I had a very diverse group, some from Central America, some from other parts of the world. And so I'm sending out these birthday cards, and I had a gentleman named Alfonso come up to me and say, "Mr. Drew, in my country, we don't celebrate birthdays." I said, "What do you celebrate?" So we celebrate our Saints' Day, our name's day. I said, "Wow, so what is yours?" And he told me his date. And so I decided to invite each individual of the 50 people in and ask them what they celebrate. And I kept that in their files, and I started to celebrate what they celebrated, right? And it taught me the lesson to live by the platinum rule, not the golden rule. Platinum rule being do unto others as they would want done unto themselves. And how do you know that? You ask them. So with this group, fast forward to when I took that story I just told you was like 1995. So almost 30 years later, informing my tribe, you're one of my 8 tribesmen. I want you and the other 7 are the ideal members I want for this group. So who better to ask for help than the people who you want like-minded as you 8. So that's why I ask you guys, what do you think? And you all have been great and given me some constructive feedback that I have actually listened to. I mean, and you should have been on the receiving end of an email. I just created one of those Google groups, and I was looking for the right interactive group platform. We can communicate with each other in between the Thursday meetings. And so I just put you guys all on that so we could just communicate. So it really is a community that you don't have to wait till Thursday to talk to each other. So there's a lot of great advice you guys have given me, and heck, if that's something that you would want in a group like this, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, that's strong. And that's what I love too, because it's a great combination of that. And another call out I want to make for the audience too is that what I love about all of us in there too, like all these other amazing guys that you've assembled, is that we're more than happy to, hey, you want feedback on this? Want feedback? More than happy to give it, with no attachment to, you taking it or not, right? Like this isn't like do this or we're not going to be a part of. Like it's just like, hey, here's what we think. Here's what we think. But every single one of us too, I know has that. Hey, this is your group, right? Like it's ours and we're all a part of it. Stuff, but we want you to be that strength thing. Like it's such a it's such an interesting balance that you strike in gathering feedback on whatever you're creating, but keeping that ownership. And, if there's times that I understand what you guys are saying, but man, there's something in my gut that I need to do this, rock and roll. And when you have a support system that goes, cool, do it. We're behind you 100%, like
Yeah.
whether you took our stuff at all,
Yeah. Well,
man,
I
that's
appreciate you
power.
mentioning that because I'm a firm believer in setting expectations and then managing the expectations along the way. And one of the things I remember doing is having the eight of us in a Zoom meeting, and I said to you, I said, number one, I want to thank you, and number two, I want to apologize because I want to know what you guys want to get out of this group. And each one of you independently said exactly what you said, that this is bigger than us and we're here to support you. And I think that was important that we all had the same expectations then going in. So there'd be no surprises and no, I didn't know that, and I've learned from that too, because as being manager in healthcare, I made a lot of mistakes. You just got to learn from your mistakes. Mistakes are actually a positive, they're a benefit. Because without failure and mistakes, we can't grow. You just got to learn from them and not repeat them.
Yeah, for sure. And I
So,
love too what your approach with this as well is something that I encourage people to embrace, which is that imperfect action, right? Because there's going to be mistakes and just being okay with it. I love that mindset that you just mentioned, but also specifically around, I don't know exactly what this thing's going to be. Like I know what it needs to accomplish. I've got that, and that's the pull. It might be a physical magazine I start putting out next month because of some crazy out of left field thing, right? But if that still fulfills the mission, rock and roll. But having that North Star to head towards while you don't exactly know how you're going to get there, what it's going to look like on the other end. That's so strong because we all have examples of, man, I would start that, but I just don't know how I would get there or exactly what it would look like. There's so much power in,
yeah.
but I'm going,
You do? Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's never a perfect time to do anything. People say there's never a good time to buy a home. There's never good time to get married. Never a good time to have a kid. Well, if we always, and I did this most of my life, is like trying to be perfect before I launch something. If we do that, we're never going to get to do what we want to do. We don't want to be the 12 regrets of the dying. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. Well, you can do that. What stopped you? We allow our minds to control us rather than us control our minds, and that's what I'm trying to change for myself. And then once I can help myself in doing that, then I want to help others. We're in control of our own mind.
Well, yeah, and that's powerful too. That's a great thing. And I know you're talking about that because you're in the middle of it right now. And that's another thing that I think holds us up a little bit is like, let me get all fixed. Let me get to the other side of this, and then I can help somebody. And again, it's another balance, right? Like if you're in um, the burning building, like you don't want to invite people in. You want to get the fire put out, right? And then, but you don't have to restore the building. You can bring them in and say, man, this is what happened. And boom, boom, boom. This is how we got it put out. This is, and so it doesn't have to, you don't have to be 10 years down the road past something. It can be 10 weeks, right? It can be, hey, here's what we're building. And that openness is such an attracting thing to an empowering thing for others to
Yeah.
experience.
Well, I mean, I tell people I'm a work in progress, and I brought you guys in while I'm on my journey. So you guys are now on my journey with me, which I feel is a journey towards transformation. And in essence, what we're doing with this group, we're building the plane while we're flying it.
And that's the thing too, though, is that whether it's, personal development overall, or you're going out to build this thing, I think it's so important to get away from this idea of done, right? Like it doesn't exist. It shouldn't exist, right? Like at all. And And when we can take that in and go, oh, I'm always going to get better, rather than, oh, there's always something I've got to work on. Those are two very different mindsets. And I mean, I just had, I had the realization recently, right? Of that. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. I'm just always going to get better. I have that opportunity to get better.
Right.
That's powerful.
That's the beauty of being able to be an entrepreneur. And this is my first round, and I was in corporate for 30 years. It's nice to be able to have an idea and test it out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm so used to going through the chain of command. By the time you get to the 8th person, the idea dies. They'd send you to a conference, right? This national conference is the best conference to go to. You go, you learn all this stuff. You're all pumped. You come back to the workplace. You give your idea. Nah, Drew, we got to do it. And it's like, why'd you send me? So now I could go wherever I want and bring it back and ask myself in the mirror, hey, there's an idea. Can I do it? Sure. Good idea. Try it. It's like.
Exactly. It's so funny because it's the most freedom and, okay, it's all on me, at the same time,
Absolutely.
And so it's a constant, you're just pendulum swing, right? Of just oh, thank goodness I can do what I want. Oh crap. I have to go do all this stuff. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where it comes into knowing when you need to outsource and knowing when you need to do it yourself. And that, again, that has a lot to do with strong self-worth. When you can acknowledge what your strengths are and then acknowledge what you could improve on but don't need to learn yourself, and you find someone who can do it and you're able to pay them to do it, because the money you may think, oh, I got to spend money, but you're saving so much mental mindset, stress, and angst by just finding someone who's good and they can get the job done well right away. So you spent a little money. You made your life a lot easier, and it's going to grow your company quicker. So I'm learning that. I've learned that the hard way. So I'm getting better. Work in progress.
We all have. We're all working on that.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it. So who needs to reach out to Drew and really at a level both for the group, work overall? Who needs to reach out to you and how?
Well, the how is just Drew at profitcompassion.com is my email address, and then profitcompassion.com is my website. Who do I want? I want great men who know they have a story that can help people. They are mission driven, and they really want to make a bigger impact than they can do themselves. Make it with me. Make it with us, because the more we can, power in numbers, the more we can share our stories and show solidarity, we're going to have unity in this world. And why not spread your mission faster with us? Because we're going to do it. So,
fantastic, Drew. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for the group you've put together. And again, I am nothing but completely honored to be a part of this group that you've put together and the other guys that are assembled in there. And I encourage everybody to reach out to you and find out more. Absolutely. Willing to help whoever I can. Jason, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you, my friend. Likewise. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of this show. If you want help creating authority building video content or even a client generating show of your own, go to MediaLeadsCo.com and let's connect. I'll talk to you soon on the next Strategy in Action.